I'm Sarah Abel and welcome to the Parentalk podcast for the primary years. I'm delighted to introduce my coffee guests this morning, Bekah and Steve Legg. Lovely to have you guys with us.
Thank you. Thank you for providing such a lovely fruit bowl as well. Huge apples and a lemon.
Feel free to get munching if you want.
Just in case we get hungry, a bit peckish. Thank you for that, Sarah.
Now, you two have got 6 children between you, 4 and 2 from previous relationships.
We do. 22, 19, 17, 14, 13, 12. Strange names, I know, but...
I like the way you could just roll that off. That's
I've got
impressive.
to do it quick, and if they change their ages, it gets a little bit more complicated.
Every birthday you have to relearn that.
Yeah, very inconsiderate.
Now, we've got a scenario that was written into us, so I'm just going to read that, if that was all right. This comes from a lady who writes, when my husband and I got married 6 months ago, we were excited and a little nervous about setting up home with my two daughters, aged 7 and 9, and his 2 daughters, 8 and 11, from our previous relationships. His daughters are with their mum half the time, but when they're all together, they seem to not really get on and don't really like each other. And this is putting a strain on our relationship as a family and as a couple. She writes, I knew it was going to be difficult adjusting, but I didn't think it would be this hard. Help.
Oh, that's hard.
Ooh. How long were they together before they got married? Do we know that?
Doesn't say that here.
Okay, because we weren't together very long, were we?
No. And I think we were very fortunate that our children did get on, but actually there are some things that we did that I think helped that. And so we were quite intentional at the beginning about taking our children on our honeymoon, which I think helped them all to know that we were one big family together and it wasn't just us two. So in fact, in our family, it often gets referred to as when we got married. And my
you all got married.
We all got married. And I think it's about creating, in fact, you can talk about moments in a minute, but I think creating those shared memories of fun things that you do together right from the beginning starts giving you joint things that you've enjoyed doing, joint memories, and it just starts to create some of that identity together that if you're not careful, it's, you're just two different groups of people who've been bunged in a house together. I think you've got to be really intentional about doing stuff together.
So trying to create that new identity. Fun stuff.
Doing fun things together, which they talk about for years and years. And normally I'm involved somehow, and the whole point of ridicule is aimed at finger, is pointed at me. But these moments that, children don't remember days, they do remember moments, and creating moments, extravagant ones and silly ones. And I've dressed up in a cat outfit once and hid upstairs for half an hour to surprise them. I lost about half a stone in weight. It was so hot in that cat outfit.
And I think, when she was talking about that scenario as well, it must be quite hard when the children are in one household half the time of the week and then they come back to another household, and obviously you're trying to create identity and something in one household and there's something else going on there. Have you got tips for sort of how you navigate the sort of different relationships and different households? And
yeah, because actually that's what happens in our household. So we have... so my 2 children are with us all the time. In fact, your eldest daughter is with us all the time, and then the other 2 come in and out. So which is a really, confusing dynamic. And I think then it's about having a lot of patience to start with, and being able to ask questions and listen to stories about things that actually you haven't experienced. On one level, you're not necessarily that interested in knowing what mum did with you last week and because there's some funny emotions that run with that, but you've got to get over those and go, so what did you do? That was exciting. And I think involving everybody in those conversations and then saying, getting the other children, and it's just about accepting that this is what our life is like. And, you guys come in and out. Actually, one of the things that I think I found difficult at the beginning was I struggled doing anything nice when the others were away, because I felt like that wasn't fair. I think I went into it this very rosy picture that we had to be the Waltons and that everything had to be marvellous and it had to be like a High School Musical every weekend, and that actually it wasn't fair if I went bowling when Steve's girls weren't there. And then I kind of realised, no, it doesn't work like that. Sometimes life will go on in this house and you're just not here. If we're doing something huge, we will make sure it happens when we're all here. But life's going to continue, and I think it's very easy to get confused by those dynamics, and it takes a little bit of time to settle down into that routine. But talking and asking them about where they've been and what they've been up to, showing that you're still interested in their life is really important.
And she seems to be alluding to the fact that the children are struggling with their relationships with each other in the midst of that. Have you got any tips for that, about sort of how you create or help help them with their relationships together?
I think it's a bit of both. I think that helping them to find the things they've got in common is important. And I think you have to be patient with children. I think you have to be so patient and understand that a lot of those emotions are coming from feelings of insecurity and a little bit of jealousy. And you've got to walk with it a little bit and allow them to be there. But one of the things I'm a real advocate for is talking to your kids every day about what's going on. And actually, I think when you're in a step family, it's quite important that you take responsibility for your kids in that one. You are a new family, but there's also a way in which you can speak to your own children. You can't necessarily speak to the others. So I know that every evening when I put the girls to bed, I'll sit down on their bed and I'll say, so you looked like today you were struggling at this point. What was that all about? And then we just talk it through. And we usually go, well, how might you have handled that better today? How might that, how do you think that person felt when you reacted like that? And then we'll talk it through and go, well, what would fix it tomorrow? And then we've just talked it through and it hasn't become a big deal because it's every day. And they do sometimes roll their eyes when I come and go, so. But they know, and they know I'm not cross. And they know that I'm not, saying you have to anything. And I'm listening to them and I'm hearing about their worries and their fears, but I'm helping them to process it. And it's part of parenting, isn't it? Helping kids to know how to handle things better. But I think that registering what's happening, not getting cross in the moment, I think that's really important. It's definitely not saying something in front of the other children, but having that conversation going, so what's going on in your head at the moment? What's that? And just every day. If you have that conversation every day, it never becomes a big deal, never becomes a massive mission. It's just that daily. And then you talk to your girls.
I try to. I'm the strong silent type.
But you're learning.
Yes, yeah, but do you know what? I thought of something practical.
Yeah, go on then.
We got a house together. I had a house in Littlehampton, which Bekah and the girls moved into.
Initially.
We felt it was very important to get somewhere different together. So I wonder if your reader, writer, correspondent, whether, the wife and 2 kids have moved in with husband and 2 kids, and the kids feel, well, this is our house, these are our toys. I'm not sure. It certainly was very important for us
so
to get
creating a joint space that
a new fresh place.
Yeah, we had 3 months living in Steve's house when we first got married, which actually was a bit of a fun and an adventure. Looking back, I have no idea how we managed because
it was carnage with 5 girls in one room, didn't we?
Yeah, we did at one point. And my girl stuff couldn't come out of boxes. There was so much potential there actually for friction. And our girls are actually very, they just handled it. But moving into a house that was big enough for us all, and that was neutral space. Nobody lived there before. Nobody had memories that other people didn't. I think that's really good practical advice.
And what about things like creating discipline and house rules and different things when you've got other households as well that you're dealing with? Maybe you had different scenarios that you've brought into the relationship. How did you sort of agree together what those were, and then how do you agree those with your previous partners?
I think what we discovered was that it was really good for us to talk and work out what our house rules were, but we've had to learn to accept that our house rules will not be the same at the other house, and we just have to accept that, and the children have to accept that as well, which is caused friction at times. Well, Mum lets us, and you go, well, we don't. And I think it's just about being prepared to be unpopular in those moments sometimes, but still talk it through, explain why. But I think we've worked really hard to make sure that we talk without the children listening about those things, and we decide ahead, haven't we?
Yeah. So in our house, if we're having dinner together, no one answers the phone, do we? And that causes a little bit of tension because our oldest daughter's 19, and on the phone all the time. Well, all the younger ones are.
Well, they all are now.
It's crazy.
But that's a house rule, which isn't the same in the other house. But that's, while you're here, I'm the same if children come around to play, mind. Like, this is my house,
my rules.
This is how we do things, And I think you have to accept you cannot control the other parent. You cannot control what they do in their house, and you cannot control how they parent their children, or your children even. You have to, and I think for a slight control freak like me, that's really hard lesson. But you just
You're
can't.
a control freak.
Well done. Continue with a surprise.
Wow. I need a satsuma after hearing that,
Or a
that
lemon.
revelation. No, I'm saving the lemon to the end.
And finally, have you got a tip for this mother or for other parents who are going through something similar and they just want to stay sane, they want to have a good adventure with their children? What tips would you give for sort of...
I don't know about a tip, but I would say it will get better. And then they'll become teenagers.
Bekah and Steve, thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
And if you've got a question that you would love to ask the Parent Talk podcast coffee guest, then please do write to us on our Facebook page. And if we use your question, then we will send you a copy of Catherine Hill's fantastic book, If You Forget Everything Else, Remember This, Parenting in the Primary Years. But for all of us, until next time, goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
You can eat your lemon now.
Thank you.
You have been listening to the Parent Talk podcast for the primary years. For further information about our courses, resources and events, please visit us at careforthefamily.org.uk.